What's up, everyone? Last month, Kelsey and I went down to Hendersonville to ride the Ecusta Trail on our bicycles. We've been riding there a lot this summer, and we've really been digging it. Lennox Station in Hendersonville is where we park when we go down, and super cool. There's a market, a cafe, a brewery, so we'll grab a coffee before and a beer after. You can park, there's a huge parking lot, there's always a place to park, and then you can hop right on the trail, which is like 10 to 12 feet wide the entire way, and it's paved and has good marking and signage and all that stuff. But this was like a perfect fall day for mid October in western North Carolina. It was sunny, blue skies, it was nice and warm, the leaves were turning colors. Perfect day to ride out to where the trail currently ends in Horseshoe. So tag along with us here. So, like I was saying, it was smooth sailing this day that we were out, which was kind of surprising for the fall in western North Carolina. I would have expected to see a lot more people out trying to look at the leaves that were turning, and especially since it was so warm. But the bulk of the people that we passed this day were like back towards Hendersonville. It was people that had parked at the same place and maybe were walking up the trail with family or were out riding with little kids, and so they just weren't going to go all that far anyway. There's not many places to park along the trail itself yet. There's like one parking lot that's like roughly in the middle, and then there's another parking lot at the very end in Horseshoe. But both of those are like pay to park. So, if you're going to do it the right way, you should really just park at Lennox Station, then ride this direction that we're going. And then along the way, there's a bunch of road crossings, but the sketchier ones are really like back towards Hendersonville. They're only sketchy because the speed limit on the road that you're crossing is a bit higher than these country roads, and obviously there's more traffic because you're closer to town. But once you get out here and you're crossing, there's way more visibility, and so you can kind of just do a quick look and roll on through if there's nobody coming. When we got out here towards the end of the trail, the wind started to pick up, and it started to get a little bit cooler, as if it were going to rain or something. But there was no clouds in the sky, so it was kind of misleading. But it did feel nice because once we hit the end and turned around, we had a really nice tailwind at our back the entire time. So this is the current end to the trail in Horseshoe. You cross this little bridge and then there's an intersection, and the trail does go like 100 more feet. But for now, this is effectively the end. It just turns into railroad ballast, and that sucks to ride on. You could go to the little restaurant or you could pay to park at this lot, but we just use it to turn around and head back to Hendersonville. But in the next few years, this will go all the way out to Brevard, and then this will be a superhighway, basically to Pisgah National Forest. But for us today, we're going to spin around here and head on back to Lenox Station and Hendersonville. Aw man, I love me a loud diesel truck. No, I don't. They're super annoying. But I will say this two-way bike lane was really super cool. Nice little touch that it's protected, although that car right there is pushing one of the little barriers kind of over. And I think that the lane ends right there in downtown, although I didn't ride it through the actual downtown section, so maybe it picks up again. Instead, we turned left and we hit this road, and then we branched off onto this greenway, which I was happy to find because although there wasn't that many cars on that road, the speed limit was a bit higher, and I wasn't crazy about that, especially with Kelsey being with me. She doesn't have that much experience riding in like traffic like that, and I do, but I don't like it. But this took us over and just kind of paralleled that road, and we were able to use this to kind of take us out towards where we parked our car at Lenox Station. The sidewalk kind of fizzled away here up ahead, and you'll see me like jump back into the road, but there were no cars coming. And then the very next road that we turned onto after this had like a really nice Schroed sign, share the road, so that was all good. And by this point we were only a few blocks away. But as we got closer to Lenox Station, Kelsey told me that there was a neighborhood that she wanted me to ride through and check out some of the big pretty houses that kind of remind her of Scranton. She'd walked our dog through it at some point, so I was down to pedal our bike through here and just kind of take a look. And then at the very end of this street, we were able to hang a right, and that took us right back onto the trail, and then right back to where the brewery is.
Ooh, let's keep going, man.
And so by the time we got back to Lenox Station, we had about 13 miles of total riding, and it took us about an hour and 20 minutes. It was no big deal, and we made it back to the car without any problems, which is all you can ask for. On our ride, I rode my old Trek 7090s 26-inch mountain bike that I've turned into like an ATV bike. It's got this cool like splatter paint job on it, very 90s. And Kelsey rode her Trek Checkpoint, and that thing is just a beast. But time for a beer.